Okay, and we are live. Hi, good morning or good evening to everyone who's watching this show. My name is Calvin. I am the show's host, and I'm also its creator of Global Citizens. So my guest for today is Miss Daniella Santana. So quite an interesting fact. So when I first started this broadcast, I think it was around my third or fourth episode at that time. I actually met a gentleman called Mr. Alberto Antinucci, who the previous week or month or so was actually interviewed by Daniela in her own show. So that, just a brief summary of Daniela's profile because I know she has accomplished so much more. And just a little fun fact: when I was doing this show, at least around 3 to 4 pages, when you try to find Daniela, a lot of her articles is the one that really featured her. So you can definitely not go wrong with that. So Daniela for business in China and in LinkedIn. Along with that, she is also the creator of Concept Express and Concept Express, which is actually a delivery service. And along with that, she is an international speaker who has been featured in multiple publications, some of which is include CCTV, Shenzhen Daily, TechCrunch, and even the TEDx. So without further ado, I will just hand the floor over to Daniela for now to introduce herself. I hope I do justice enough to introduce her.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Calvin, for inviting. Been planning this since last year, but finally we did it. So I'm
Indeed,
very happy to
indeed.
be here and be talking to your audience. So basically, as Kevin already explained, I lived in China for many years. My company is called Concept Express. It's an all-in solution for people buying from China, buying or selling to China. And I also talk a lot about entrepreneurship, LinkedIn for business, and so on. And I'm originally from Brazil, but I kind of consider myself almost like half Chinese at this point.
Funny enough, my family, my ancestral, my great grandparents, etc., is actually from Fujian. However, I've never actually visited China, so I'm kind of embarrassed about this since I think, well, you know the country even more than me.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay,
actually, I traveled a lot in China, but most of my trips they were all for business. So I actually didn't have so much time to explore um, many cities in terms of traveling as a tourist, but mainly as somebody doing business. So it's very different as well than doing traveling for business and also traveling for tourism and spending time with locals and so on. So I wish I had done more um, touristic tours in China.
all right. Okay, so we will actually begin with the very first question. Yeah. Okay. So Daniela, I know you have practically lived in China most of your adult life by now. Okay. So do you mind giving us a little brief of summary about what is life like in Brazil? Because the thing is that if people see Brazil, there's two things that they can associate it with the tropical lifestyle and of course soccer, since Brazil has 5 World Cup titles at the moment. Okay, I'm not going to mention about what happened at the 7-1 in Germany. That one was a nightmare. But
I was
along
just
with yeah,
watching that.
yeah,
Couldn't be worse.
yeah, I was there. I was there. Oh goodness, that was horrible at that time. I think it was around 8 years ago. Is it?
Yeah, I think around that.
Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, Daniela, if you don't mind, maybe share with us a little bit more about what is life like in Brazil, and also what factors make it easier for you to ingratiate to life in China.
Right. So basically, life in Brazil is very slow paced, and there is not much investment in terms of technology here, and things are quite pricey. So this is something that people, when usually I talk about, people don't really believe that Brazil is actually pricey. And it is especially real here in my city. It's one of the most a touristic city as well. So everything is very expensive, and the quality that you get for the products and the services is nothing compared to the price that you are paying. So, for example, in Europe, you could have a coffee for 2 euros, or €1 even in some places, and it's super cheap. And you get like great service, a Wi-Fi, a nice coffee shop, and you can actually work from there and so on. So in Brazil, you will never see this. So, for example, a coffee will be really expensive. There will be no place for you to sit. There will be definitely no Wi-Fi. So I think I'm
Oh,
kind of
Wi-Fi?
yes. So I'm definitely a kind of suspicious person to speak about it. Not because I'm Brazilian. I love my country still, but I do love more China in a way, just because that is, as you said, is the place where I spent most of my adulthood and where I made my lifetime friends, where I made and started my business from scratch, and just everything is just much easier um, there. I can start a business for yesterday online, or I can make an event. And for example, sometimes I would put an event together um, in Shen Zhen, where I used to live, and I would have like 200 people coming for that event in less than 3 weeks. I would set up everything. It's just that people there are more willing to do business, and there is less, I would say, there is less paperwork for you to get things started, for you to just, throw out a party and so on. While when sometimes here in Brazil, I see things are really, really slow, and you need paperwork for everything, and you need signatures from everybody. And I think in a way, this kind of slows down the economy, especially here in Brazil. And so, if I would compare like Brazil life with China life, I would say Brazil, it is kind of a more tropical. People want to go to the beach and so on, which actually I don't mind. That's actually the reason why I left China. I wanted more contact with nature. I wanted to live in a big place to live, surrounded by mountains and the beach. And I plan to grow my own food at some point as well. So I was really missing that connection with earth and nature, because in China, then it's basically everything about business. So it's like while here in Brazil, it's everything about tropical and going to the beach and having barbecue on weekends. In China, it's mainly about the business, so working, making money, um, putting your things together, and there are tall buildings just everywhere. You don't see much of the nature, depending, of course, depending on the city that you are. There are plenty of cities, but um, in less urban areas where you can find a lot of green and a lot of nature as well. But the places that you go for China to do business, they usually are not that green areas. And so I would say I think that is one of the biggest, I think the biggest issue for me coming from China to Brazil is that here things are really, really slow in terms of the economy as well.
Okay. Okay. So apologies, guys. I am able to hear Daniela well, but I think it's just because of the distance. Because in Brazil we are in South America, so the distance with Asia is a bit. So the voice can be a little bit distorted, but I don't think it will be a problem.
Maybe
So-
let me see if I take this mic off. Is it better now?
Yep. Yeah. It's so much better.
Is it better?
Yeah, it is. It is. I can hear you very, very well.
Okay, so let's go like that.
All right. Okay. All right. So Daniela, so currently, as with the global situation is, we are encountering quarantine from the corona epidemic. Yeah. So there has been multiple issues that arose from this. So the first issue I want to tackle on is on the recent rise of xenophobia. There has been attacks on people of Chinese descent or of Asian descent, specifically those who are okay. I But well, the thing is with Asians, we don't have a general term for them. But in the United Kingdom, in the United States, there's been an attack on people of Chinese descent. I think I recently read there's an attack of somebody from Korea who is not even a Chinese, but well, they were attacked because simply they thought, oh, people from Asia are being categorized under the same roots. So, as someone who has embraced China as a second home, how do you feel about it? And second is, what would you say to these people to actually dispel this unnecessary hatred of those of Asian descent?
Yeah, indeed, it's happening, and I think it's a really, really sad situation. I don't think we should be looking at people as per nationality. I think we are one. I don't think there should be such thing. And because of the pandemic and so on, people are having a kind of a weird look into Chinese people and also Asian in general, because people also do not know how to differentiate different types of nationalities in Asia. So they are putting everybody in just one basket and blaming everybody for whatever happens. And but it's not only on the Asian and the Chinese side. Inside China right now, there is also something really sad happening where they are blaming Black people for spreading the viruses. So there is also cartoons, bad cartoons showing up, Black people being arrested by the police and so on, being put it on a trash can and stuff like that. So it's on both sides. It's from it's also on the Chinese and the Asian people, but also on Black people. And it's just everything is just really sad. I think today people are so intolerant about other nationalities. In general, not only Asians and not only whatever people from Africa or from Latin America. I think there is an intolerance that is all over the world for people that may be different or may have a different mindset than you, or that may have different values and so on. And I think the way for us to actually solve those kind of things is to be tolerant and to just love the other person as you would love yourself, because at the end of the day, we are one, and we all came from the same place. I mean, which we may actually not really know, but I'm pretty sure we all are coming from the same place. And so there's no, there should be no reason for us to be fighting against nationalities. But the most important thing that I think we also need to tackle is to think of how are those things spreading? Where is this coming from? There is somebody or an organization or something that is actually starting those kind of movements where putting people against Asians or Chinese, and Chinese against foreigners in general, or against Black people. Where is this really coming from? I think that's the question that we should be asking ourselves. What is the agenda behind this, and who is starting those kind of things? But I think in general, we need to be tolerant, we need to love each other, and we need to accept people as they are. That's what I think.
Okay, that's really a beautiful statement, Daniela. For those of you who just tuned into the show for the very first time, so Global Citizen is an online platform or webcast whereby I invited entrepreneurs, public figures, or even individuals who has created content and has experienced a multicultural lifestyle. So basically, like myself, I'm a third culture kid. I grew up in Singapore for 15 years of my life. I'm now back in Indonesia, and well, I'm a Chinese Indonesian. So, well, there are certain issues for us growing up also. Along with that, I invited digital nomads, expatriate, and international speakers, like such as, for example, Daniela is fill up in both expatriate and as a speaker. The reason being is that for her, she has lived in China for most of her adult life. She established her life there, and while she is actually a citizen of Brazil. So why I actually want to do this is because, well, while you are, yes, you can go to other places for holidays, but that is just a holiday. At the end of the day, or at the end of the week or month, you are back to your home country, you are back to living the way you always live. But when you live in other countries, you have to adapt to their mindset. You have to appreciate their culture. You have to be a chameleon who practically try to blend in with the people. But the thing is, even if you can do it at its most perfect sense, there's no way that sometimes people just accept you fully. So these kinds of issues is something that I want to address on this show. And yeah, of course, there's also going to be focusing on areas on entrepreneurships. The reason being is that, well, everybody would love to expand. This is the era of globalization, right? Okay. So, Daniela, this is my next question for you. So, 19, a lot of system, a lot of establishment is being challenged. For one thing, sadly, is a lot of people lost their jobs. And now I actually want to focus on what on management area. You see, the thing is that those individuals who somehow have a more right wing mindset, they focus more on profits as compared to the welfare of the people. What would you advise to an entrepreneur who is leading an MNC or even an SME? So, because as the central figure of leadership during the time of crisis, people would gather towards them. And the thing is that sadly we have seen some, well, less than exceptional form of leadership in the world today.
Yeah. Okay. I think more than ever, now is the time for us to understand there is no safe jobs, and actually there are no safe businesses as well. So I think the businesses that are doing the best right now are the business that are online. Okay, and if you're not online yet, should be working towards making sure that your business is accepting orders and delivering things, um, and having an online presence at this point. So I see a lot of people right now, actually, even the people that lost their jobs, they are now trying to start something online. And I think this is the best time because you are quarantined at home. There's not much where to go. So we need to be using, if you are jobless and you just lost your job, you need to be finding ways for using your expertise and your skills, because I'm sure you may have something that the world needs right now. So you could be looking into freelancer jobs such as freelancer.com, upwork.com, fiverr.com, and try to find some gigs on those places. And maybe you are a website builder, maybe you were working for a company, but you can do that on your own as well. So try to find a way of staying afloat by bringing in the money to make sure that that you have some revenue at the end of the month. And I believe for the people that are already entrepreneurs and that are suffering, I have a lot of friends that are going through that right now. They are basically trying to do that, trying to do bring things online, of finding a new way of doing a business integrated with the business that they already had, um, in a way of providing more value and bringing in more income as well for the business. But we all know that the situation right now is kind of complicated, but we should not lose our hopes, because I think this too shall pass. And so, because of that, we need to come stronger than when we were during this time. So once everything is over, we need to make sure that we have put in place a foundation for making sure that we have a strong online business, or a business that can go through, can keep on going through crisis like that. And on another note, and I know some people are still finding this funny, but I'm going to have to say, when I was living in China, all of my friends were laughing at me because I told them that I wanted to grow my own food and I wanted to have a huge um, area and have a house and just live more in nature. And in the future, I plan not to um, rely so much in money. I want to be 100% self-sustainable. But of course, it's complicated. It's not that easy. But eventually, that is something that I'm going to accomplish. So now, as well, in times of crisis, I think we should be looking at a way as well of somehow making sure that we are safe, growing our own food, even if it's a small, tiny area. You may have a little balcony, have something there just for safety, because you never know the day of tomorrow. And so when I was telling this to my friends, this was actually beginning of January, I think, right before I left China. And all my friends were laughing and making fun of me. And now, after I left, this whole thing started. And then my friends were like, okay, then now we will understand why you were thinking of doing growing your own food, and having a place, not having to pay rent. So this is super important. And I see a lot of online gurus telling you, do not own your home, have a rent. That is the biggest BS of all times, because if you live in a rent in your entire life, you will always need the money. You will always have to be working hard, because all the money that you receive will basically go towards renting and food and everything. But if you own your home, that is something that you can have a peace of mind to work on your business, to do the things that you love, so you don't have to be paying rent every month. And so I would definitely tell anyone, I would tell my younger self, to have bought a home a long time ago and not having to live off rent. So this is very important. So cut rent, and also at the same time start growing some type of food, something that is easy and it's fun, and at the same time build something online that can go well, or at least not as bad as the physical businesses that are going through a period like that.
Okay, Daniela here is a visionary because she already anticipated what to do. Okay, that is wow. That is wow. Okay, maybe I can suggest you have a chicken and potato farm. The thing is because actually a friend of mine in Bali stock eggs and potato. The reason being is that due to the the diversity that you can make out of all those materials. So
Mhm.
yeah, you can keep that. That could be
Okay.
an idea for the future.
Okay, well, I won't do the chickens because I'm vegan, but I would definitely do the potatoes.
Wow. Okay. For Daniela's friends who laughed at her, eat your heart up because she expected it. She came up with a trend. Okay. The business of the future is making a potato farm. For myself, I am consider doing a toilet business. I guess since we
Yeah,
need toilet
toilet
maintenance.
paper.
Yeah. Yeah.
Toilet
I mean,
paper.
yeah.
That is
Toilet
also
paper is
good.
one. Yeah, toilet papers. You can even create the state of the art toilet seat. I mean, it's available in every kind of location around the world. So that could be an idea. Okay. Okay.
Right.
All right. Okay. So earlier you mentioned, yeah, of the importance of a business needing to have an online presence. So you are one of the top you are one of the top consultant for LinkedIn. And the thing is this, I've never really okay, I actually have a LinkedIn account, but the thing is that I've never been truly active in it because I always feel like, for example, for my show, it's more towards social cause. And LinkedIn is a place whereby entrepreneurs, any individuals who with the mindset of a business actually use it as a medium for them to actually promote their content or in order for them to show their resume. I know there are some people who has gotten a job due to LinkedIn. Yeah. So the thing is I have this recent discussion with a friend of mine who who also runs his own webcast. So he highlighted to me in social media. The thing is it's just a medium. It's how you shine, how you express yourself to attract people to turn them into a profit as as a paying customer or as a context. So Daniela, what would you advise for somebody who want to dive into LinkedIn for the very first time?
All right. Yes. So I think first we have to clear all those misconceptions that people have about LinkedIn, that LinkedIn is useless and that it doesn't work and that it's very hard to start, and that LinkedIn is a social media platform. So yes, LinkedIn is a social media platform. However, it is 10 times more than that. So I don't really see LinkedIn as just a social media platform. I see LinkedIn as a way where all the potential buyers are hanging out. So on LinkedIn, for example, you can go there and let's say I'm offering my trainings to small and medium sized companies. So my LinkedIn training, for example, I can go there with my target client, my client avatar, and I can easily find, I don't know, 100, 200, 300,000 of CEOs or HR directors and people that I can talk to offer my services to their company. So on top of that, I can easily see if that is my client avatar or not. So different than Facebook and Instagram, where you cannot really see what that person has done in the past, what are they doing, what are their projects, and you cannot really see if they are fit or not. You have to spend an extra time talking to random people that you have no idea if they are your potential customer or not. So LinkedIn is more than a social media platform. So if you are selling basically almost anything, you are able to find clients on LinkedIn. So I think this is the number one thing that you need to understand. So give it a try. If you're not sure, give it a try. Have your client avatar or your type of audience that you are looking, go on LinkedIn and do a little search and see if perhaps you can actually find those people there. So if you found one, two, or three, most likely you're going to be able to find more people. So for the people that are beginners that are starting, I would recommend to have a completely fully optimized profile, have a beautiful and professional banner, which you can create on canva.com for free. There are already templates of LinkedIn that you can create there. Um, have a professional photo taken for your profile as your profile picture, and then have a nice headline and a very interesting um, summary of who you are, what you do, who you serve, and what are you offering to people. So make sure that your profile is fully optimized and complete, and start talking to people and finding those that potentially would be interested in your podcast, in your book, on your services. But number one thing not to do on LinkedIn is to start selling right away. So this, I think, is one of the biggest mistakes that people make on LinkedIn. They sell too soon, and I would be completely. I would not feel good if somebody that I just met. So you need to think on LinkedIn in terms as a networking event. So if you go to a networking event and you meet somebody and immediately you are like, okay, this is what I sell. I do this. Do you want to buy from me? Can you buy it? Do you want to buy it? So this is going to be really, really annoying. And people do the same thing on LinkedIn. So on LinkedIn, it has to take some. You need to take some time to get to know the person, to interact with the person, and then later on, you can then start discussing about sales. So think that LinkedIn as just as a networking event online, basically.
That's actually a wonderful point, Daniela, because I've actually met several financial advisors or those within the real estate. They would actually do a massive blast of messages of the product that they are selling or what they offer available. Of course, it's not nothing wrong with that. However, they actually did what you tell them not to do, and that is to directly sell what they have. So as a result, it kind of reflected badly for them. And the second part is that a lot of them actually, when they do this massive blast, they actually might encounter somebody who is within the exact same line. As a result, well, it become a counter clash of convictions, or well, they are not being productive using their LinkedIn as productively.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
Daniela, so yeah, so what is your insight on the aftermath of this COVID-19 on two areas? On recession is definitely, that's is definitely coming, and the second one is on entrepreneurship. So one of the silver lining I noticed of this COVID epidemic is that now a lot more people are at home. They spend time with their family, and well, I know that a lot more people are trying. If you are a trainer, they try to make a webinar. But the thing is that now they realize is that they are at home. They spend a lot more time with their family, and well, they realize now they can actually acquire a work-life balance, and this will definitely be a catalyst for some people to pursue entrepreneurship. So, do you have any advice on this?
Yeah. I like to always see challenging times with, let's say, a futuristic eye, or with vision, or with a way that on how can this actually benefit us in a way. So as you said, indeed, people are spending more time with their families, and this is actually something good. And at the same time, especially here in Brazil, for example, home office was a taboo. Okay, people were not used to it. People would not work like that. And different than China, where people actually like to live close to their jobs, in Brazil, it's the totally opposite. People live very, very far from their jobs. Okay. So, especially if they already have their own houses, so they will probably live very far away from their jobs. So, it would take like an hour and a half, 2 hours to go, and another 2 hours to come back, or sometimes it's even more, depending on where they are living. And so, this was a big taboo here in Brazil, home office. Okay. And now, basically, the entire country is working with home office. So lucky are the people that actually had a job that could allow them to actually do home office, because a lot of other jobs are not, unfortunately, are not able to do home office, and so what I would tell people, my advice would be, as we already spoken before, would be to, if you do not have your own business yet, start working towards that and creating something that you can work from home, or on working online, and try to make a living of that. And yes, you can try LinkedIn to find customers for your consultancy job, for your freelancing. There are so many ways actually that we can make money online today, despite the fact that we are in crisis. And for example, web designers right now, I am sure it's it's doing pretty well, because a lot of people understood that now they need an online business. And so there are a lot of industries that are actually growing despite the fact that we are in crisis. But there are also industries that are totally going down, and companies are closing. So my advice is to find a way of starting an online business, or a business that can be done through a computer and a phone. So that is my recommendation.
Okay. Daniela, I have two more questions for you. So the first of the last question is this: do you have you ever experienced a personal failure? Sorry. In my show, we don't like to use the term failure. We call it a learning opportunity due to the cultural differences between Brazil and in China. The thing is that as we have discussed earlier, people in Brazil tend to have a lot more free spirited, and the work culture is a lot more laid back. Whereas from my own personal experience working with people in China is that you need to be at the top of your game every single second. And ironically, they themselves are not doing it when they're working back with you. This is my own personal experience, of course. So, have you ever encountered it, and what is your advice on that?
Can you repeat the question again?
Oh, sorry.
If I
Yeah.
yes.
Sorry. First is the what kind of learning opportunity? Yeah, people like to call it failure that you have experienced from the cultural differences from working in Brazil and in China.
Okay, so yeah, in terms of cultural differences, yeah, they are huge. I think also in China it's much easier for a foreigner to find a job. For example, here in Brazil, there are no jobs at all. The economy is really bad, and now, unfortunately, with what's happening, um, I don't think we're going to be in a really good shape here. So but in China, it's really easy to actually find a job as a foreigner. However, foreigners right now are not being accepted to enter China because of this pandemic. And so I never really experienced anything bad in terms of cultural because, well, I worked for a Brazilian company when I was in China, based in China, and so it was really interesting the mindset. But I already had a kind of a mindset of China, you know, working with China. So it was a little bit kind of complicated, but nothing nothing major. But there are. Not everybody has that sense of adapting so easily to other countries, to other cultures, and to other types of to the business life of the country. So, for example, I adapted myself really um, easily to both the Chinese culture in terms of just the culture itself, but also the business culture, which is completely different than Brazil here. So, but I would totally recommend China to anyone who would like to work there or to start a business and so on. Unfortunately, this time it's closed. But if I were to choose, I would say it's much easier to work with Chinese companies than with Brazilian companies. The fact is that Brazilian companies, as I said, is way behind in terms of home office or things that can be done online or even being a little bit more relaxed in terms of your schedule. For example, in China, the companies they focus more on your results. So, for example, if you are a top sales, if you're a top sales manager, for example, and you yesterday you worked all night long and you finished really late and you don't want to go to work tomorrow because you're really tired, that is totally fine and nobody would say anything, because you are performing well, you are doing really well, nobody would care. But basically that's how it works. If you're bringing money to the company, they don't care about anything. While in Brazil, even if you're a top sales manager, if you're bringing in the numbers, the money, the cash, the results, they would tell you no, you have to come and work tomorrow. So I think this is one of the biggest issues when you compare like Brazil with China. So China is more relaxed as long as you are bringing in the numbers and the results, and Brazil is a little bit more strict, no matter you are performing or not.
Okay. All right. Daniela, so this is actually going to be my last question. Do
Yeah.
you have any books or advices that you would give to these two individuals? Sorry, my camera is here. Sorry, two individuals. So, firstly, is an aspiring expat. Yeah, so they want to start an entrepreneurship, and well, they want to do it overseas. Maybe in China is possible, or of course, maybe some of the other Asian tigers like Singapore, South Korea, Taiwan, and Hong Kong. Uh, that one. And the second one is actually something that I actually saw from one of your blog. At that time was because when one of the one of the main that in the past you were actually a physical education teacher before
Right.
becoming an entrepreneur. And what makes you pursue physical education is because you were really insecure, you were really shy when you were young, and as a result, when you discovered sports, it's become something and you're really good at it, it builds your self-confidence. So
Mhm.
why I actually want to ask this particular one is because I actually have met some people who, because of being insecure of their appearance, whether it's a boy or a girl, well, it resulted in an unwanted situation because they feel so scared, they feel too shy about it, and well, uh, yeah, I think I'll just let you continue with it.
Okay, so yeah, for anyone planning to start a business, I think first you need to have the mindset. So mindset is really, really important when you are starting a business because um, it may seem easy, but it's not that easy. It requires a lot of hard work, no matter what type
And
of
if
business you are starting. But
to start a
after you,
podcast too, it's also not easy.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it
So,
took
but
me a year for to finally get Daniela on my show. 1 year, guys. 1 year.
1 year, was it 1 year? No, was not 1 year.
I half a year
Maybe
at least. Yeah,
6 months.
half a
Yeah,
year or so.
yeah. No, so the mindset. So it's gonna be involved a lot of long hours, a lot of ups and downs, disappointments, and things that you're gonna have to learn and let go and move forward for you in order to actually build a business. But I have to say that it's so rewarding, and the freedom that you have is just is priceless, you know. And also the online business, being able to just be anywhere, work from anywhere, like we were doing, for example, today, being I'm in Brazil, you are in Indonesia, and we are having a chat. So this type of work can be done, and you can actually get paid working with clients from anywhere. Now, the other thing that I would like to share about starting a business or growing a business is that a lot of people think that, for example, if I am Brazilian, I have to work with the Brazilian market. And this is a huge, huge misconception in business. While, yes, it may sound easier for me to get started with Brazilians because, well, I know the culture, I know the country, I know the people, I know what people want, and I can speak the language. For example, the Brazilian market is not a profitable market for me, for example, because I can speak other languages. So I speak English, Spanish, and also Mandarin. So therefore, I can work with other countries that speak Portuguese. I can work with other countries that speak English and Spanish, and also China. And so I do not have to limit myself and think that, okay, because I'm in Indonesia, for example, and I speak the language, I have to work with the Indonesian market. That is a big misconception I see. So, for example, maybe the Indonesian client will be willing to pay, let's say, $100 for your service in Indonesia. But if you speak English well and you can work with the US market or the Australian market or Canada, for example, you are able to sell the same service for $500. You know what I'm saying? So, for
Yep.
example, today I rarely work with the Brazilian market, and it's not because I don't like Brazilian people. Of course, it's nothing of that, but it's just as a business decision. We are in business to make money. So, if today I sell some of my trainings, because I had a lot of Brazilian companies ask me, they are not willing to pay the price that I sell to USA. So why would I work with those? I rather work with the USA because then I got paid in US dollars. You know what I'm saying? And
Yep.
then there the price is much higher than here. So because if you speak other languages, remember to use that to your favor and find a market that can pay well. So it doesn't have to be your domestic market. It can be international market as well. So I would recommend the 100 Startup. It's a very, very interesting book. So it's like ideas that you can start with $100. But Today there are a lot of actually businesses that you can actually even start with zero investment. Like my first business, the only thing I actually invested on was the website, the hosting, and the web designing, which was horrible. And later on, I started to build my own websites because I didn't like the websites that people were building for me. And so there are a lot of things that basically you can put together with less than $100, and you can be up and running and looking for customers on LinkedIn, which is also free. So this excuse today that you cannot open a business because it's complicated or because of this and that, it's gone. Okay. You do not need that much money to start some types of online businesses, but you will need some skills that you may need to learn. You will need patience, you will need hard working, you need the mindset as well to start a business. And one of the books that I always recommend for many different types of situations is Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. Because I think sometimes most of what's going on that we don't start our business, or we don't start the podcast, or we don't start the YouTube channel, it's because we are afraid of failure, afraid of failing, and afraid of what people will think about us if we didn't go well, or if we don't have many views, or if we actually change and start doing other things. And so there are a lot of fears that go on in our minds. So this book is really, really interesting. This book works as well for example, if you're planning to change career, if you're planning to move to another country and start a new life. So it's a really, really interesting read. Feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah,
So
for
yeah,
those of you who are interested, it's Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway by Susan Jeffers.
yes, Susan Jeffers, exactly. So it's a really, really interesting book. And sorry, what was the last question you made?
Oh, sorry. An advice for young man or young lady who has lack of self-confidence for themselves. The reason being is that this is actually based on your own story.
Mhm. Yeah, so basically, I was a physical education teacher, and I graduated. And then right after graduation, I moved to China. And so I still tried to work with physical education there, but it wasn't really going very well because in China at that point, people thought that for you to be working with fitness, for example, you had to have big muscles. And that was just their mindset at that point. And I never had the big muscles, so I was always a skinny girl. So it was a kind of a tough period for me in terms of working. But before that, the reason why I entered physical education, it is because I grew up in the countryside of Rio, and I would go to the city like only a few times in a year. And I was always a very, very shy girl, and I lacked confidence as well. I think basically because I lived in those places where I wasn't the very, I had like always had this curly, huge hair, and I was skinny.
But
So
it's lovely. But your hair is lovely.
thank you. Yeah, today I love my hair, but back in the days I hated my hair. So I
Yeah.
didn't like my hair, I didn't like my weight, I didn't like anything about me. And basically, because in Brazil, if you had curly hair, it was not pretty. If you were skinny and you don't have big booties, it was not pretty either. So I was the total opposite of what society thought that you should be in Brazil. And I just grew up this way. And unfortunately, I never really had anyone to come and say, you are not that, you're beautiful, and all that kind of stuff. So I was actually bullied in school for many, many, many years. And then later I moved to the city, and I continued to be feeling that strange, awkward person on school. And I was actually really good at school. I would take always the highest grades and so on, but the lack of confidence in other areas were always there. And so I started to do sports, and I started to play volleyball. And that's actually when my confidence started, to arise, and I became a really confident person. I started to play for the school, and I was doing really well. I was one of the best players, and basically that's how I got into physical education. And from there, already in China, um, while doing physical education, I decided that I wanted to open my own business. But basically, because most of my friends at that time, they were already doing trading business, and they also had their own company. So I think also the environment that you live kind of dictates where you're heading, in a sense. So it's very important for you to know who you work with, who are your friends. Do you live in a nice do you live in a house with nice people, nice friends, nice family, and so on? Because this can actually dictate what type of life or mindset you're going to have. So if I had stayed in Brazil, I don't think I would ever have opened my own business, because that was just not the people I was hanging out with. That was my friends. They were not opening businesses. They were not doing those kind of stuff. They were not traveling abroad. They were not going to other places. And so in China, it opened up a whole new possibility of people that were living and working abroad, working from the computers and the phones and making good money, living a good life in China, traveling around, and so on. So basically, that's how I made the decision to actually become an entrepreneur, but based on what I was seeing, based on seeing my friends happy and doing their own thing. So
All
I
right.
would recommend anyone lacking confidence to find something that they are really good at, and keep doing that thing over and over again. And no matter if it's a hobby or a business, eventually you're going to feel more confident about the whole rest of the things that you're not confident yet.
All right. Okay. So maybe just to add on from that Daniella's point, from Daniella's advice. So for myself, my main passion for speaking comes from in my third year in Singapore. So I've always been insecure from the way I talk, because in Indonesia at that time, during my time as a kid, our main influence of English growing up is those 80s action heroes movies, the old Westlife song. So that's how we learn English. So as a result, we tend to have an Americanized accent. And in Singapore, when we try to speak this way, they might find us a little bit pretentious, or they try to call it a slang. So at that time, I was really insecure with the way I talk, with my appearances. And there's actually one teacher that I remember. Her name is Mrs. Han. I hope she's watching this. But I know the last time she deactivated her Facebook, so never mind on that. So the thing is with her is that she actually says that the way I speak is actually a big advantage. And she actually spent a lot of time coaching me on that. And for that particular year, I remember my English oral was perfect score. And as a result, it is something that I fell deeply in love with, is because now I found something that I love about myself. And at that time, growing up in Indonesia, and then you move to Singapore, you are insecure about your cultural identity. But now I found something of myself that is not related to that, but it's something that I love. And ever since then, every single thing that doesn't require me to count become something that I'm very passionate about. And yeah, that is actually one of the reason, I guess, why I decided to use this medium to speak. So that's actually
Awesome.
the last. That's actually my last question for you, Daniela. Okay, so I've actually attached Daniela's website and some of her other publications. If you are interested, you can also please check into her website. Just to give me a second, please. It should be down here. Okay, it's danielasantana.com, right? Am I correct?
Yeah.
Yep, yep, danielasantana.com. Yeah. You can check out some of Daniela's past works and even her books if you guys are interested. And do notify her if you have something that you could be interested on, especially on entrepreneurship. But please be respectful by telling her where you know her from, because at the end of the day, this is Daniella's personal privacy. So along with that, I need to thank every one of you who has watched in at the different intersections of the live show. I actually will be playing this again on Facebook Watch Party, and I also will be putting it on my LinkedIn. So along with that, I actually I actually would need to thank the two people who live alike, Miss Suchi Despande, who since recently has been watching a lot of my programs, and one of my past guests, Mr. Jason Patrick Vogel. If you're watching this, please say hi to your mom. So along with that, yeah, I also need to lastly and definitely not least, Daniela for coming to my show. So
Yeah.
Daniela, is there anything you wanna say?
Yeah, thank you so much. It was a really fun time, and I'm very happy to be engaging here with you and with your audience. So there's actually some freebies on my website. If your audience would like to go there, you can also download at daniellasantana.com /grow your LinkedIn all together, and you can download a PDF where I teach you how you can grow your LinkedIn for free. So, and yeah,
All
come
right.
say hello. You can also go to my Facebook page and also Daniela Santana and leave me a note or a comment there.
All right. Okay, and with that, that's the end of Global Citizen, episode 47. Passion is the greatest catalyst to greatness. Just to let you know, this is actually a quote that Daniela used before. So, with that, that's the end of the show. Hope you guys have a good day, or if you are like in here, it's actually nighttime here. So, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
do enjoy your day. Okay, bye everyone.
Bye bye.